Today, we will be reading Easter Bunny Tryouts, written and illustrated by Julius Sampson. Hi, my name is Mr. Buns, and though I'm an old hare now, I remember well the race that changed my life. Back then, I was the most overconfident young buck ever. I was challenged to a race by an old tortoise. I couldn't believe it. He was so slow, and I was springing fast. I thought it was so obvious I could beat him easy. In fact, I was sure I'd win. So sure that during the race, I ate snacks, played, and even took a nap. When I lost, I was devastated. Everyone made such a big deal about how an old, slow tortoise could possibly beat a hare. I was depressed for a long time. I believed I couldn't win anything and didn't try because I was afraid of failing again. My arrogance had destroyed me. However, that wasn't the race that changed my life. One day, I heard a commotion in the nearby chicken coop. I slipped through the fencing and asked what all the clucking was about. My friend Bubber told me that there was to be a race, and any kind of animal could join. The winner gets to be the new Easter mascot for all time, and the runner-up gets to decide the Easter present. She smiled dreamily. Oh, how I wish to win. I hope you do, I said with a soft smile. You should try out, she suggested. You're so fast. My ears dropped and eyes fell to the ground. I can't win. Why not? Didn't you hear? I lost to the slowest animal ever. I'm just too arrogant and I get distracted too. Well, that was a long time ago, Buns. You don't seem arrogant now, she replied. If you do join in, I'll be happy to run beside you. She turned back to her flock and joined the pecking party, her comb and wobbles jerking with each goodie she found. She was right. I wasn't so prideful anymore. I was humbled by that loss and knew more now than I did then. I knew better, to keep going and to stay away from distractions. So maybe I could win. I started to believe in myself again. I began training too. Not fast like I used to, but easy and for much longer time. Finally, the day arrived, and I stepped up to the starting ribbon. I looked down the line at all the contestants. There was a dog, a cat, a cow, even a butterfly, and a lamb all lined up. I recognized the last one. Her name was Lammy. I also recognized the duck that waddled up beside me. Mrs. Waddles, I said. She nodded her bill with a smile. Well, hello, Mr. Buns. It's good to see you running today. Looks like I got some real competition. She winked at me. My ears perked up. She didn't seem to remember my failure. That was very encouraging. I looked for Bubber, but I didn't see her there. My long white ears sank when I recognized the hard shell of an old tortoise standing firm at the starting line. I reminded myself that I wasn't a failure anymore. My mistakes did not define me. I was in it for the long haul this time. Then I heard a familiar cluck. I spun around and there stood Bubber. Buns! I'm so glad you came, she balked excitedly. I smiled and wished her luck. A mighty squawk from a great bald eagle ripped through the air and began the race. I felt the rushing wind of wings rush through my fur on both sides when Mrs. Waddles and Bubber took off. I jogged, regardless of those who passed me. I focused only on the path and myself. I knew this was going to be a long race, and I couldn't use up all my energy at the very beginning. The race lasted a long time. I was happy that I was leading the tortoise, but I remembered his relentlessness. I followed the trail around the bend and saw the same brown and white cow that I saw at the starting line. He had stopped in a field to graze. I saw a patch of yummy clovers over there. They looked so delicious and my tummy rumbled. But I didn't stop. I recalled the clovers I munched on in the first race and how I ate so much that it made me tired. I had slept while the tortoise passed me by. I wasn't about to let that happen again. Then I went over a bridge. In the distance, I saw the dog chasing the cat who was chasing the butterfly, and all in the wrong direction. They all were making the same mistakes I made in my first race. Everyone except that tortoise. His slow and steady show was creeping up on me, and it kept me going. Next, I came upon a lake. I was so focused on my path that I almost didn't notice it, but suddenly some water splashed me and collected into a puddle beside me. It was Mrs. Wuddles, dunking her head under the water. She had gotten quite sidetracked. I imagined her hanging her head in shame if that tortoise beat her, and my heart sank. I hollered, encouraging her to keep going. Even though we were competing, I wanted to help her. What good is the lesson I learned if I don't share it with others, I thought. Then I saw Lammy's white wool moving through the shrubs. She had jumped over them and wandered far from the path. Again, I couldn't let someone suffer the same shame I did, so I struggled through the bush, smearing red and purple berries in my white fur along the way. Finally, I was close enough that she could hear me, and I called out to her, reminding her about the race and the prizes. The last stretch of road curved around a full drooping bush, and boy was I surprised when I cornered it. Under the shade was a pile of grass so long it looked like hay, and in it sat Bubber. "Bubber?" I nearly shouted. "Why are you nesting? You're so close. Don't you want to win?" "Oh, Buns," she replied in tears. "I want to, but I had such a pain in my stomach." She lifted her feathers, revealing a freshly laid egg. Her tears fell, and a voice wavered. "You go on. I must stay here and keep this warm." "But what about the race and the prize? You were so excited about it." "I guess I won't win after all," she sobbed. "I just can't leave my egg." A tear came to my eye as I told her I was sorry for her, and then kept going along the trail. I got to the top of the small hill and finally saw the finish line. As happy as I was to see that red flag, I just couldn't go on. Not because I was tired or hungry or wanted to play, but because I just couldn't leave Bubber behind. I realized that there was something more important than winning or redeeming my reputation. I needed to help my friend. I retraced my steps and found her again. "Bubber," I said, "you can win." "But how?" she clucked. "Look." I stretched out my ears. "I have a fluff of warm fur behind my ears. I'll carry your egg for you." Bubber jumped up and gave me a gentle peck on the cheek. "Oh, thank you," she exclaimed. Then she nested her egg into the stained fur, and off we went up the hill toward the finish line. I glanced back and saw Lammy prancing along a few yards behind us, and Mrs. Wuddles quickly waddling behind her, with her wings flapping. But what really got me moving was the rustic shell that crept over the hill after the two of them. The moment I finally stepped over that line, I felt like the breeze of the flag on my face. I stepped into a whole new me. The moment I finally stepped over that line, I felt the breeze of a flag on my face, and I stepped into a whole new me. Bubber came in behind me, spreading her wings in tearful hugs. Lammy came trotting into third, and Mrs. Wuddles into fourth. I thought I saw the fluttering wings of a butterfly following, but I wasn't sure. They all cheered and crowned me the Easter Bunny. Bubber rolled her egg over to me, stained with red and purple swirls of color. I learned something that day. Helping my friends made me happier than winning ever could have. So when you stand at the starting line of life, stay focused, give it all you've got, but remember, it's always better to help your friends than it is to win a prize. Happy Easter, friends!